Hi, welcome. I don't really know much about podcasts. I did some research, so I hope I got it on lock. Really, the only podcast I listen to is Distractable, and that's really not your traditional podcast, as I found out. So, here we are. Today we will be talking about the Studio Ghibli film My Neighbor Totoro. And I I grew up not really being allowed to watch Studio Ghibli movies, and the reason for this is because I begged my parents to let me watch The Secret of Arrietty. Um, it was such a bad adaptation of The Borrowers, and The Borrowers, my mother loves that book. She would not let me watch another Studio Ghibli film, because she thought they must all be that bad. So, later on, when I became determined to watch more of their movies, because it's so ingrained in the public consciousness, I had a choice. I could either show them Princess Mononoke or My Neighbor Totoro. I showed them both, and I was shocked to discover that my parents actually both really, really loved My Neighbor Totoro. And, I really thought that Mononoke would be the bigger hit. And so I think it just came at a right time for us because it was 2020. And so it just kind of added that other layer of personalness to it that, I just love the film. I have a poster of it up in my dorm room. I love the film. So I really, really wanted to talk about it for this project. So, the plot. I think everybody knows it, but just to go back over it, it takes place in 1950s Japan, so after World War II. It's a bit looser than originally intended, I will note this, because the research was a little wonky, so it's more in the recent past than specifically 1950s. It focuses on a university professor and his daughters, Satsuki and Mei, and they're moving into an old house close to a hospital where their mother is recovering from a long-term illness. The sisters meet Totoro and the other spirits, and after several run-ins with them, they let the girls participate in a dance to help seeds they planted grow. It's a dream sequence, but when they awaken, they find that seeds have sprouted. The girls get news the next day that their visit with their mother will be postponed, and May throws a tantrum, as any 4-year-old would, and runs away to the hospital to bring her mom fresh corn, which she thought would heal her, and then she gets lost. The film culminates in Satsuki's desperate search for her sister, and spirits come to her aid, helping her to reunite with May. It has a happy ending, with the mother coming home and the sisters playing with other kids, as, the spirits watch on. It's a very beautiful film. I will say this many times in this podcast episode, I'm sure, but it really is. And a lot of people will say that it's just pretty. It doesn't have that much substance. And to that, I will say, yeah, that is true, but it does have a story. Everything that the girls do, you can tell that they're just trying to deal with the anxieties of moving to a new house. That's when the soot sprites arrive and make everything better. When, Satsuki is bringing May to go to the bus stop on her back in the rain. And the bus is late. She's thinking, oh god, what if he never comes back, kind of thing. And then Totoro appears. And so the spirits are always there for them when they need them. And it really bolsters the environmentalist message of humans and nature together in general. So I'll come back to that. But the release was in 1988. It was written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki. And he's known for working people a little hard. So this next fact concerns me. 8 animators worked on the film. And it was completed in only 8 months. Miyazaki is known for really, really, really wanting detail in the animation, and not really considering the story or any sort of linearness, first and foremost. So it starts out with a general idea and beautiful art. So, 8 animators in 8 months. incredible. And as of 2019, it has grossed over $41 million worldwide. And that's just in box offices. That's not even mentioning the billions in home video release. Or merchandising. Like, those numbers are just insane. And so, it has also received numerous awards, including the Anime Grand Prix Prize, the Mainichi Film Award, the Kinema Junpo Award for Best Film in 1988, and the Special Award at the Blue Ribbon Awards. It has also ranked 41st in the Empire magazine's The 100 Best Films of World Cinema in 2010, and the #1 animated film on the 2012 Sight and Sound Critics Poll of all-time greatest films. And just to really showcase how, renowned this film is, Totoro can be likened to Mickey Mouse or Winnie the Pooh. He is now the face of Ghibli. And so, it's really just, it was, I believe, his 4th big movie, and it was really the one that made Ghibli's name. It paved the way for things like Spirited Away, which arguably has even more international acclaim, and it's just a timeless film for the children, specifically of Japan, and internationally. The animation itself, now that's what I want to talk about next. It is stunning, and it really set a new standard in anime, and in general. It inspires future artists and animators to push the boundaries of their craft. And, again, 8 animators in 8 months. It uses so many different techniques. And the ripples in water, they were designed with 2 colors of highlighting and shading, which, it looks beautiful. And the rain from My Neighbor Totoro was actually scratched into the cells and superimposed for it to convey a soft feel. So they actually took the film cells and scratched in the rain. It creates this beautiful, soft effect. And an entire month was taken to create the tadpoles in the water, which included 4 colors. And then the water around it was also blurred. So a whole month was taken on such detail as the tadpoles. Beautiful. I will also want to mention that the film is so distinctly Japanese. I am not Japanese. I've probably butchered any pronunciation in this, as much as I try not to. I did research every term beforehand, and I can't guarantee that I didn't butcher them. But it's very ingrained in that culture. It takes place in post-World War II, 1950s Japan. And it harkens back to this very, nature. It's this very natural feel to it. And the idea that humans and nature coincide and can work together. And Miyazaki himself described in a 2002 interview with Roger Ebert that he really pursued ma in the film, which apparently is the Japanese term for emptiness or negative space. And it involves characters doing things like sitting in thought, waiting at a bus stop, letting out a deep sigh. It's this pause, it's taking a moment to just exist, regardless of whether it advances the plot or not. And, in fact, Miyazaki proclaimed ma to be in intentional opposition to the clearly defined and decidedly linear cause and effect style of storytelling, the busyness, as he called it, that viewers, particularly in the West, had become accustomed to. And I got that from the Asian Cup. So, it really is just taking a moment. Not for suspense, it's not, we see the ticking bomb under there and the characters take a minute to breathe and they don't know it's there. Everyone takes a moment, whether you're watching the film or it's a character. And it's a really beautiful thing that it was not prevalent beforehand, and it's still not, but it is used in films to this day. It's this sense of a breath. And then another concept in the film is mana no aware, and it's apparently a complex Japanese aesthetic principle that concerns the appreciation of the beauty in transience, and the gentle sadness that comes with that. It's about finding beauty, not despite, but because of the fleeting nature of things. So it's really taking that sense of taking a breath and really putting emphasis on the fact that you're taking that breath at all. It's these transient things that are beautiful. And while that may be sad, it's still beautiful. And this film focuses a lot on the anxieties and grief of the girls, and just this sense of they don't know what the future holds, but the spirits are there for them. Like, they come in their darkest moments, and it's really this sense of everything will be okay, even when, you know, the neighbors find this little girl's shoe floating on the water, and, you know, they call Satsuki over because what if Mei drowned? And so it really is just, everything may be fleeting, but it has meaning nonetheless. And there is also tons of religious imagery, like Tori, Buddhist statues of Jizo, and statues of the Shinto fox god Inari. It's a combination of the Shinto and Buddhist beliefs, as well as ancient folk animism. There we go. Very different words. So, and as an article by Kasuke Fuji, I hope, points out, Satsuki asks the statue of Jizo if she and her sister may take shelter from the rain in, you know, its roofed shrine. The father takes the sisters to the camphor tree to express gratitude for their smooth settlement into their village. You know, Granny says a Buddhist chant to pray for May's safety when she sets out on the hospital and gets lost. And May rests by the side of 6 statues of Jizo when she realizes that she is lost. She takes comfort and she knows that she'll be safe there. And so it really weaves that into the narrative. It is all about this sense of nature, and the natural is calming and safe and healing above all. And so the legacy of this film is hard to define because it is just so ingrained within the public consciousness at this point. It is one of the main films to popularize anime internationally, you know. It really brought it to an international audience because as a children's movie, parents would take their kids to see it, and those kids would grow up with it. And so it really fueled an interest in it. And again, the painterly animation is something that many animated films strive to emulate. It's so beautiful, and everyone knows it's beautiful, so of course they want to follow in its footsteps. And the slow pacing brought by the Ma and the Mana no Aware is something that has affected filmmaking as well, and it encourages filmmakers to let their stories breathe, not just as a tool of suspense or, you know, a pause, but as a pure moment of calm. It's just this sheer sense of a moment, for whatever it's worth as a moment. And so it really has this lasting legacy that I think is, again, I'm going to say it one more time, makes it beautiful. And I think I'm going to wrap up this podcast episode here. Thank you all for listening. I wish I had something to plug like most podcasts do, but I don't. So, see you all in class. Bye!